Pack your bags, we're headed on a big old ride, with dreams of sunlit shores and the open skies, from the hills of Cyprus to where the world collides.
Ready for a change of scenery? Today, we're diving deep into Kuala Lumpur.
Sounds exciting.
Not just the typical tourist stuff, though.
Yeah.
We want to uncover what it really feels like to be there.
I like that. Getting a feel for the place.
Yeah.
How are we going about that?
Well, we've got this great blog post
Okay.
by a couple who did a whole trip, and their KL leg is perfect for this.
Awesome. Someone who actually wants to soak up the atmosphere, not just check boxes. That's promising.
Totally. And right away, they nail that sensory overload. Like you get off the plane and bam, humidity hits you, the mix of buildings.
Right.
It's like something you feel in your bones, not just see, you know?
Right. Like you're really there. It's not just a picture in a guidebook.
Exactly. And they said the aroma of street food was like instant. You step outside and you're surrounded.
Now that's what I'm talking about. Food is huge for me. When I travel, it's not just fuel. It's like the soul of a place.
100%. So we've got the humidity, the smells. Oh, and they mention how the skyline immediately grabs your attention. A mix of like older architecture with these super modern skyscrapers.
Oh, that juxtaposition is always fascinating. You see that in a lot of places, but it's always unique how it all comes together, speaks to the city's identity, you know?
Absolutely. And I think that's what drew these bloggers in those layers of history, culture, all mixed with the modern stuff. It's like you're stepping into a story that's still being written.
Right. Not a museum piece, but something alive and constantly changing. That's exciting.
Okay, so we've got this sensory overload happening, but what did our bloggers actually get up to?
Well, they hit some of the classics, of course, but the one that seemed to really resonate with them, and it makes sense, given how they talk about immersing themselves, was Chinatown.
Chinatown, a classic for a reason. I bet it was buzzing.
Oh, absolutely. They spent a good chunk of time in peddling street market. You know, that warren of stalls, everything from silks to, well, probably some things you shouldn't ask about.
Huh? Yeah, those markets can be an experience for sure. What kind of stuff did they pick up?
Let's see. The blobber's wife got herself a nice silk scarf, haggled the price down too, apparently.
Nice.
Yeah.
I always admire people who can haggle well. I'm hopeless.
Practice makes perfect, right? She also found a little Buddha statue, said something about it calling to her.
That's how it goes. Did they mention the food? Because, you know, I can't go to a market like that and not.
Oh, absolutely. The satay was calling their name. Couldn't resist.
Good choice. You can't go wrong with satay. It's like the essence of Southeast Asia on a stick.
I know, right? So, Chinatown, check. But they also hit up one of those landmarks that's just synonymous with KL.
The Petronas Towers.
Bingo. Had to be done.
Those towers were the tallest in the world for a while, you know.
Yeah, I think I read that somewhere. What an architectural feat. I can only imagine what it's like to stand at the base of those things.
Oh, they said they felt dwarfed, like those sleek silver giants were just dwarfing everything around them. Really gives you a sense of scale, you know, for sure. A bit intimidating maybe, but in a good way. I mean, I'd be in awe.
Definitely. And they braved the sky bridge, too.
No way. What did they think? That's got to be incredible being suspended between those towers.
The view obviously blew them away. Who wouldn't it? But they also said they felt the bridge sway a little in the wind.
Oh, gosh, no thanks. That's one thing I could do without. I don't do so well with heights.
I hear you. But hey, different strokes. So, towers, check. But then they had this funny little detour right at the base of the towers, actually.
Oh, yeah, the canteen. I was wondering if you were going to bring that up.
It's just too good not to. So they're hungry after all that sightseeing, right?
Makes sense. All that walking around works up an appetite.
Totally. So they head to this nearby mall, figure they'll find a food court, easy peasy. But little did they know.
Plot twist. What happened?
They stumbled right into the workers' canteen. Not exactly what they had in mind, I'm sure.
I'd be so curious, you know? What would you even do in that situation?
Right. It'd be easy to just, nope, right out of there. But these bloggers, they went with it.
And thank goodness they did. Where else are you going to find that authentic a lunch, right?
Talk about a happy accident. Seriously, though, it just goes to show sometimes those unplanned moments, they're the ones you end up telling stories about, right?
Totally. Okay, but they did hit up some of the, you know, actual planned destinations too, yeah? Like the more historical and cultural spots. What they have to say about that side of KL?
Yeah, they weren't just about the modern stuff. It sounds like they made a point of getting into the history, too. And what's cool is even their choice of places to visit kind of fits with that whole blend of old and new we've been talking about, you know?
Yeah, because you've got your, like, ancient temples, your colonial buildings from way back when.
Right, but they also went to the War Memorial Independence Square, places that speak to more recent history, Like the story's still being written.
Makes you realize how much the city's been through, It's got all these layers. Speaking of layers, though, I got to know about their little park visit. We were talking about sensory overload earlier.
Yeah, from the moment you touch down.
Exactly. And then towards the end, they're like, okay, time for some peace and quiet. Remember they went to that park with the koi pond?
Oh, yeah, they mentioned that. Even in a huge, busy city, you can still find those little pockets of calm.
Mm-hmm. I love that. It's like KL has it all figured out. Excitement, history, amazing food, and a place to just breathe for a minute.
It really highlights something crucial about travel and maybe even life itself.
Yeah.
Being open to those unexpected turns, because sometimes the best experiences, the most authentic, memorable moment, happen when we stray from the well-worn path, much like Rob and Mandy did, both in that KL mall and when they eventually moved to Cyprus.
It's like the universe rewarding their willingness to embrace the unknown. And speaking of embracing the unknown, their next adventure takes them on a bit of a whirlwind tour of Kuala Lumpur's historical side.
Right. They hop on a city bus tour and manage to hit quite a few landmarks. The Royal Palace Gates, the National Museum.
Don't forget the War Memorial and Independence Square.
Yes. Yeah.
I was exhausted just reading about it.
It's amazing how much history can be packed into one city, isn't it? And it made me think about your interest in Cyprus. You see, just like those landmarks tell the story of KL's past, Cyprus has its own rich history waiting to be explored. Understanding that history can completely change how you experience a place. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. Okay, so we've wandered through sensory-rich streets, stumbled upon hidden culinary gems, and delved into layers of Malaysian history, all with Rob and Mandy as our guides. But remember, this was all before Cyprus was even on their radar.
It makes you wonder how these experiences, especially in a place as culturally diverse as KL, might have influenced their eventual move to Cyprus and how they viewed the island once they got there.
It's like carrying a piece of KL with them, shaping their perspective, right?
Exactly. And speaking of Cyprus, their blog actually offers an incredible glimpse into their life there, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. Their move to the village of Pissouri, their adventures exploring the island. They have posts dating back to 2006, right when they arrived.
Wow.
It's like stepping into a time capsule.
And this is where we start to see those parallels emerge, the threads connecting their KL experiences to their new life in Cyprus.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, remember how we talked about those sensory details staying with you from travels? Rob and Mandy's descriptions of Cyprus are filled with those same vivid details. They talk about the smell of jasmine in the air.
Oh, wow.
The sound of waves crashing against the shore, the taste of freshly baked bread from the local bakery. It's clear that those sensory experiences are still a huge part of how they experience a new place.
It's like they brought that sensory awareness honed in KL to their new home in Cyprus.
Yeah.
They're not just seeing the sights, they're really immersing themselves in the experience of living there.
Precisely. And remember that openness to unexpected experiences, that willingness to go with the flow that we saw in KL, that's woven through their Cyprus adventures too.
It makes me think about those who say travel broadens your horizons,
Yeah.
It's not just about the places you go, but how those experiences change how you see the world, how you approach life.
Absolutely. And it seems Rob and Mandy really tapped into that.
Yeah.
They describe joining in local festivals in Pissouri, learning about traditional Cypriot crafts, even their approach to trying new foods. It all points to that same spirit of embracing the new and unknown.
It sounds like they found a different pace of life in Cyprus, a sense of community, which might be exactly what they were craving after the whirlwind of KL. And they're still exploring even after settling down. They write about road trips through the Troodos Mountains, exploring ancient ruins, even sailing adventures along the coast.
It's like they've hit this sweet spot, finding a home base, a place to belong, but never losing that thirst for exploration.
Right.
It reminds us that settling down doesn't have to mean settling in. You can have both, a sense of rootedness and a spirit of adventure.
That's a really inspiring takeaway, especially for someone like me who loves the idea of both exploring new places and finding that sense of belonging. So we started with your interest in Cyprus, took a little detour to KL with Rob and Mandy, and uncovered a whole world of insights about travel, cultural immersion, and maybe even life itself.
And it all circles back to that initial curiosity, that desire to understand a new place.
Yeah.
By diving deep into Rob and Mandy's journey, we've gotten a glimpse of their unique story, but also unearthed some universal truths about how exploring the world can shape our own perspectives and choices.
It's been quite the adventure, hasn't it?
It really has.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive.
Until next time.
But we want to leave you with this. Rob and Mandy's story reminds us that every journey, big or small, has the power to transform us. So as you consider your own path, your own curiosities, ask yourself this: what will you explore next?
I do like flying where we never hide.
Out on the highway, chasing the